The end of this month would be 1 year with the company, so last week I had a check-in as they do with all employees. They had a whole list of questions I answered, and then they asked if I had anything to add. I brought up the value I have with the company and named some positive changes I have made, including one that brought in a large amount of new business over the summer. I make $29 an hour now, and I asked for $32 an hour, and an additional 5 days of PTO. I also offered to come off of their cell phone plan, which they include all employees on, as my husband's job now offers reimbursement for that. I told her I was happy with my job and the company, but there is one thing I wasn't happy with. I was denied 5 days of time off in September because a manager of another department requested the same time off after I did, but they have worked for the company longer, so they were allowed to take it off and I wasn't. I was pretty upset and made it known to my boss because this was already planned for my family, and I put my request in July. I was told they would look into what to do about the policy moving forward in September, and never heard anything back, so I got over it, but figured I'd bring it up again. She didn't give me any kind of feedback after that. Figured either she or my boss would follow up at some point. This morning, I went to use my door card to get in the building, and it didn't work, which was extremely bizarre. I rang the bell and my boss came down and opened the door. He asked me to follow him to his office and he sat down, but before I could sit down, he told me he has to let me go and that it is purely a business decision and nothing I did wrong. I asked if he can clarify what that means, and he said that he was sorry for having to do this, and that is all he can say about the matter, and that my items will be mailed to me because they can't allow me to go back into my office. And then he walked me out. I don't know what to do. I have never been fired before. Ever. My husband doesn't really know what to do either. I know I should file for unemployment, update my resume, start applying for jobs, but I'm pretty overwhelmed right now and feel slightly like things are about to come crashing down on my family. I really believe the reason I was fired was because I brought up this unfair policy twice now, and maybe that they don't want to give me a raise. Firing me over that seems pretty extreme, but there is nothing else I can think of. I thought you usually have to sign something when you get fired, but I didn't and got no other info other than it's a business decision, so I'm left guessing. We have a toddler, a house, car payments, bills like everyone else, and our income just got halved in 5 minutes. We have some savings, but I'm sure not enough. Just looking for some advice to make sure we make the best short-term financial decisions in this crisis until I can get another job, and also, how do I stop crying?
Budget money. Cancel any uncritical services, Netflix, etc. Get into serious budget mode and look at where you might be able to pick up some extra cash, babysitting, yard work, whatever. Your new job is now looking for a new job. Connect with your network of friends, former co-workers, family, let folks know and start meeting with your support network. Take this as an opportunity to reflect on your career, your skills, and strengths. You'll get through this.
Thank you. We are pretty frugal, but I just canceled our Amazon Prime a minute ago as I looked, and we haven't used it more than once or twice a month all year.
I was fired from a job once, and also felt dazed for about a week. They periodically did background checks, and in error, mine had came back with a felony. I was a 22-year-old girl with no record. My boss knew it had to be an error, but HR had to fire me immediately. It took months to get it corrected. I was offered my job back, but at that point I didn't want it. The time away gave me perspective that the job was actually not a good job or good company to work for. I wasn't being paid enough for what I was asked to do. It changed my whole life for the better. I hope something good comes of this for you.
It's more than that. You can work part-time and reduce the amount of unemployment you get weekly. But why in the hell would I do that? You are probably asking yourself. Here is why. Your unemployment is a set total amount that is dispersed until it runs out. If you work part-time, they give you less, but your net gain is higher. The end result is, your unemployment lasts a lot longer because it is being dispersed in lower weekly amounts. You make more money working part-time and collecting partial unemployment. The combined total is more. You still have plenty of time to look for a suitable full-time job. You avoid the associated mental struggles that come from being unemployed. E.g., your ass gets depressed from sitting at home all day. Many years ago, I was in your shoes, and I ended up being on unemployment for almost twice as long as what they calculated I would be. I also made more money than having just unemployment alone. It was a good time in my life because I had a low-stress part-time job but could still squeak by. I used the time to get my head right and set personal priorities and goals. The last thing I would say is to make sure the laws where you live work that way. My advice is good based on my experience, but you probably live someplace else, and my suggestion may not work for you. Anyway, I thought I would just throw that out there for your consideration.
I'm sorry you are going through this. First, give yourself permission to be upset for a bit. Getting fired is a big, emotional thing. It's totally understandable that you'd cry. Given the circumstances here, it may be worth consulting with an employment lawyer. While nothing here is clearly illegal, a lawyer might notice something I don't. And whenever you aren't given a real reason for being fired, that can be used as leverage. So you might be able to negotiate severance or something similar. Your list of filing for unemployment, updating your resume, and applying for jobs is exactly right. If health insurance was through your employer, you will want to look into either COBRA coverage or getting coverage through healthcare.gov marketplace. But certainly take the long weekend, at a minimum, to relax, gather yourself, and try to get into a better headspace.